You're listening to Packers Talk Network.
PackersTalk.com.
Welcome to the Packers Weekly Podcast, part of PackersTalk.com network. I'm your host, Miles Teddick, joined by your co-host, Tim Hamilton. We are diehard Packers fans, just love talking about the Pack. We're not getting into all the national sports media nonsense that they get distracted by all the time. We are sticking to the top topics around the Pack, breaking down games during the season and sorting through all the drama and the drafts and rumors and all the stuff of the offseason we're not dealing with right now. If y'all want to support that podcast, spike that like button for us. Most importantly, jump on over to YouTube, type in Packers Talk Network, search, and hit that subscribe button there on our channel. We would greatly appreciate it. It only takes a matter of seconds and very low effort on your part and makes a great big old difference for us. So we appreciate y'all for subscribing and hanging out with us every Monday night at 9:30. We stream live to talk about the Pack. And we've got a fun matchup against the Seahawks to break down. I really enjoyed it. And of course, the final 53 coming up. I think tomorrow, I don't know what time. Tomorrow sometime. We got our final roster cuts that we'll get to chew on and understand and think about and wonder what's going on. And before we get to all of that, first, we're going to take care of some business. Our show is once again sponsored by Wisconsin's own Ticket King. For over 30 years, Ticket King has been providing Packers tickets to Packers fans, as well as Bucks tickets, Brewers tickets, all the sports tickets. You can find them over on the web at theticketking.com or visit their locations in Green Bay and Milwaukee. Remember, support those local Wisconsin businesses or your local businesses, excuse me. Tim, good evening, sir. How we doing?
Good evening, Miles. I'm doing good. It's time to start talking about regular season football now. Preseason's over, and now we get the craziness of roster cut down time, and we'll see who makes the initial 53, who makes the practice squad. Do they claim anybody off waivers? They make any other trades? We saw one go down Sunday night. A little bit of a crazy time, and then we can start really focusing in on the lines. And the regular season's here already.
It happened so fast. I feel like the last podcast we did, we were just excited that preseason's here, and now preseason's gone. So that came and went. If you blinked, you missed it. And regular season is upon us. We got a week to breathe here. Everybody get your fantasy football drafts out of the way. That I'm actually trying to do that right now. Hopefully I'm not leaving anybody hanging. No, not my turn yet. But tis the season, man. We got real football that's going to count. We got rosters getting cut down. You know, one thing that I noticed is being mentioned a lot, and I was listening to LaFleur's press conference, and I think that there's just a lot of chatter about this out there. There's a general sentiment that everybody, feels like there could be more moves coming. Do you get that?
I mean, as far as trades go?
Yeah, like more trades. Guys, like it feels like, I think LaFleur made it sound like they're really watching other rosters.
I'm sure they are. And I mean, the Kennard trade Sunday night shows that. I mean, they went right out, and they didn't wait to cut down day. They did it a couple days ahead of time and went out and got Kennard to address what I think everybody saw as a weakness on the team, which was their offensive line depth. So that's one move. Do they make others? Yeah, I think it's possible for sure. I think they're looking around, whether that's a trade or a waiver claim or two. We'll see. But yeah, I certainly could see them adding at least one player, maybe multiple players from other teams here in the next couple of days.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It just felt like, and obviously there's the speak, right? Like, well, we got this, we got that. It's tough decisions to make. Some guys really work their butts off, all that kind of stuff. But it felt like there was a consistent emphasis on, we're watching what happens with other teams. We're watching what happens with other teams, So it really feels like there may be some specific names out there that they're watching to see what happens with them. The other thought, we could toy around with this. Your tackle depth is now improved. And it's almost like if you needed to trade one away, you have more ability to do that now. Is that something that makes sense, or are you still pretty not on that train?
No, I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense. I wouldn't do it. I don't think Kennard really helps their tackle depth much. I think they're going to view him as a guard first, and then a guy that maybe could get him by at tackle. But I think he's probably a guard swing guy first. But he's certainly, behind the starters. He's behind Morgan. Maybe he's behind Belton. Maybe he jumps ahead of Belton just because of Belton's inexperience and, the development that he needs. But no, I don't think it changes anything. I know you're talking about Rasheed Walker. No, I'm not trading Rasheed Walker. Like you trade Rasheed Walker and one injury, like then where are you playing Jordan Morgan? Because he's the backup right now at guard. He's in competition at left tackle. He can only play one spot at a time. Like you get real thin after that, and that's the problem you're going to run. Like I'm not trading Rasheed Walker for a third round pick or something like that because a third round pick's not going to help you this year, right? Like, and Rasheed Walker's still a pretty good tackle, and even though like Morgan's in competition, I really like Morgan's development. I think he's making the second year jump, right? I'm not making that, like I'm not making my roster worse right now, especially at the tackle position, because you're just one or two injuries away from then all of a sudden being like, why the hell we trade Rasheed Walker? We need him back. Like it kills your depth. It hurts you as far as a starter goes. It hurts your depth, and now you don't have enough. That's one of the positions you never have enough depth at. You never have enough good players, or you can be like, you know what, we're set at tackle. We have so many guys. Let's just trade one. Like, no, it's one of those positions where you hold on to him. I know he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, and he's likely not going to get a long-term contract from the Packers. I get that, but man, like even with Morgan's progress this year, if you just say, yeah, he's our left tackle, well, right now Aaron Banks has been dealing with a back injury throughout training camp. So, like, is he ready to go? Because if he's not, Morgan can't play left tackle. Morgan's your left guard then. So then you got to have Walker, right? And it's just you're one or two injuries away from being completely screwed. And, then you're leaning on Jacob Monk or Kadeem Telford or Donovan Jennings. Like, it's just you don't want to get that far. So, no, I don't think it allows them to trade a tackle. I'm holding on to all the tackles.
Well, and there's a certain team in mind that I went and poked around to see what their tackle situation looks like, and it's not great. It's not great. They this specific team probably understands how you feel, right? They probably wish they had more tackle depth. It's probably of some value to them, honestly. But interior D-line is another one that they also are particularly shallow about. But this isn't that other team's show. This is our show. And this is about the Packers. We're just kind of – I'm flirting with the idea that the Packers could get, pretty talented player from another team maybe in a transaction. We'll see. But anyway, I'm very excited about what I saw against the Seahawks, man. The defense in particular, I don't know how much we could learn about the offense in this last game. I think this game for the offense was really about the O-line just getting out there and competing. And I think the rest of it, maybe there was a little bit of movement at the running back position. I think receiver position is probably what it's going to be. I was very excited, though, what I saw from the defense. I think there was a lot to be seen from the defense, a lot to learn still and see, who's going to shake out where. I mean, we saw Quay Walker getting some reps. That was good. The defense looks ready, man. Like, I'm trying to not get too excited here, but it was very – I enjoyed it. I enjoy what we're seeing from the defense. There's a lot of growth, it seems like. I know Tyron Hopper is kind of the popular one to talk about right now when we're talking about improvement. That was LaFleur saying he's probably the most improved player from this time last year. That's, man, how exciting is that, though? Like, linebacker might be one of the strongest positions on this team.
Been a long time since you could say that or think that, right, in Green Bay?
Yeah.
I think their defense, as far as the Seattle game, it did what you wanted to see it do. Like, yes, you got to say that they were going against the backups as far as the starting defense goes. But even after that, the Packers' backups were pretty damn good too. So, like, it's encouraging. And I feel better about their defense right now coming out of training camp than I do about the offense, which is crazy to think. I think it was a weird training camp with the injuries. Like it just was disjointed. So many receivers were out. There were changes on the offensive line with Jenkins being injured, the Banks being out, Rasheed Walker, Jordan Love's injury. Just was like, I don't know what the offense is going to look like early in the season with all these guys having missed so much time. Like, where's the chemistry? Like, it just seems like they're going to have stuff to work on, and they might be a little hit or miss early in the year. But I feel pretty good about the defense. They had everybody out there for the most part. I know McKinney missed a couple weeks, but that's okay. Like, I don't think that's going to throw him off at all. McKinney's that good. He can miss that time and he'll be fine.
Right.
But there was encouraging signs. Like you mentioned, the linebackers, they're deeper than they were certainly last year when they made this transition to a different defense, different coordinator. Encouraging signs on the defensive line. I have to give it credit. Encouraging signs with the pass rushers. I'll believe it when I see it with the pass rushers, but they did what you wanted them to do, which is Bari had a really good camp in preseason. Brenton Cox did. There's growth there. Lucas Van Ness was a guy that pretty much every day throughout camp, everybody that was there watching was talking about how he was making plays. Again, he's got to do it when the games really count against starting offensive linemen and all that, but at least you're seeing that. You're seeing that progress. I feel a little bit better about the cornerback room too. So, yeah, it's encouraging for the defense. You should be excited. I think there's some different things that they're going to be able to do with the personnel, having a year of assessment and playing a different way last year defensively than probably what they pictured it being. So now you got all those different wrinkles and the different things that they did last year as far as blitzes and simulated pressures and stuff like that. You can bring that and kind of build off of that this year too. And just having the experience of knowing the players from a coaching standpoint, and the players knowing the system. I feel really good about the defense going into the season. It scares me to say that because, we've been hurt by so many defenses for so long in Green Bay, but it was a nice first season for Hafley, and I believe him. I believe in him, and I don't think it was a fluke or anything like that. And I think he's good enough to get the most out of his personnel. So it's going to come down to the pass rush, of course, but I feel pretty good about the defense. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited because I feel like the pass rush has absolutely improved from last season. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people have been really beating the drum on. Pass rush has to improve. And watching these guys, I don't know how you could say it's not improved. I'm not going to go off and make any kind of projections or anything, but I think you can check the box that says that they're improved. And it's not just because they look good in preseason. They look good in the reps. And you watch what they're doing. You watch how they're doing it. It's happening. Like, these guys are flying around the field. They look confident. They don't look like they're guessing anything. You watch Hopper with the one rep where he's, I think it was flying around Twitter earlier, where he jumps in and he's got like kind of a hop cut and fills the gap almost instantaneously as it forms. And that is just some tough stuff for a running back to try to deal with, man. Like, that's some instinctive stuff right there that you can't really coach. But guys aren't doing that if they're sitting there wondering what their job is on. It's like, guys are making plays like that when they're like, I know what to do. Watch me do it. And that's a great sign. Even though it's the preseason, the level of confidence that you're seeing, especially from a guy like Tyron Hopper. If we're talking about Cooper, that's one thing. That guy should have, no limit to his confidence at this point. But, Hopper coming off a tough season where, he didn't see a lot of the field, and it seemed like the knock on him was he was kind of behind. He needed to catch up. He needed to kind of settle in and figure out what's going on. And now that dude looks comfortable. He looks like he knows what he's doing. I think that LaFleur even said something that, he's chattering a lot out there. He's leading the defense when he's on the field. That's a big deal, man. That's such a big deal at a position like linebacker for this team, where you've already got Quay Walker and Cooper in front of him. Like, dang, man, that's going to be a tough position for teams to deal with. And it's a great sign that these guys are comfortable with the system in Hafley in year two. And I think somebody else, I can't remember who said it, but somebody was mentioning the fact that it was, you know what? I got to give somebody credit that I don't always agree with. I don't always agree with, but I'm going to do it. Make sure I don't misstep anything here. It was a good quote, though, and it's a good point. I think it was Peter Bukowski, and he pointed out that it sounds like, even though it's early, the new D-line coach is making a difference. And his he was saying that it seems like there was a lot of guys that really did not agree with previous coach. So my idea and my retweet on that was, hey, have you ever worked for a boss you don't like or respect? And if so, did you perform to the best of your abilities under those circumstances? The answer is probably no. I know I have, and I could not do anything the way that I should whenever I was working for somebody that I did not like. And it was crippling. So it's exciting to hear this coming from somebody, especially Peter. He's got, he's closer access and, all that. We're not the same, right? Like, make sure we make that clear, just to poke a little jab at him. But, I was happy to hear somebody else make that point, because I was starting to wonder, am I crazy? But it does seem like it's made a difference. And if that's the case, man, this defensive line is going to be different this season. It is not going to be the same defensive line of last season. So I'm very excited. It does look like that. I mean, do you think they'll be able? Do you think they will keep 6 defensive linemen, and our guy Stackhouse will make it?
Well, 6 defensive tackles, you mean?
Well, right, interior linemen.
That's tough to do. I mean, I think it's possible, but when you look at all the numbers, and it's not just defensive tackle. Like, you got to factor in ends, you got to factor in how many linebackers, how many corners. Like, it all kind of, it's a puzzle that they're putting together, basically. I don't know if they keep Stackhouse. Like, I think he's the 6th guy. Brooks and Wooden are going to make this team, and Wooden's another dude that's shown some progress this year, playing a new position at nose tackle. Not all the time, but showing that he can fill in there. He added the weight and the size, which really helps. Brinson definitely gives you more pass rush than Stackhouse. Probably has more upside as a player than Stackhouse. Stackhouse is just a run defender, and you're seeing flashes, but I think you're also seeing at times he gets moved out of his spot pretty consistently. But there are flashes where he's clogging it up and he's able to penetrate. But for a guy that's just going to be a pass rusher, it's going to be tough. And right now he's like their 3rd string nose tackle, because it's Kenny Clark, and then it's Wooden, and then Stackhouse. So, when you factor in you're the 3rd string nose tackle, 6 defensive tackles aren't going to be active on game day, right? You're probably going to have 4 or 5. I don't know. I think they probably end up cutting him. But it wouldn't surprise me if he makes it. It could go either way. He's one of those guys that I think it could go either way. And I hope if they do cut him, they're able to get him through the practice squad, because I think there is something to develop there as a run stopper. But I think he's far from a sure thing. I like him, and I'm rooting for him, because I would like to see him develop in Green Bay and eventually have an impact as a run defender. But I don't know. You got to look at it too. Like, are you going to keep him over, say, Christian Welch, who is going to be on special teams every week? I know they're different positions, but it factors into your overall. Yeah, it factors into your numbers. Like, Welch is going to be a core special teams player.
Right.
Stackhouse is probably going to be scratched. I mean, he's going to be inactive most likely most weeks, depending on how it plays out. Maybe eventually he doesn't, but I think it's going to be tough. Not impossible, and certainly they could go with 6, but I think more likely is they probably go with 5.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. It's going to be tough. I don't know that he made a big splash against the Seahawks. I mean, I watched him a little bit. I didn't watch all of his snaps intently. I was watching some others. So I'm trying to pop over here to PFF just to get an idea. Okay, so he had a pretty bad PFF grade against Seattle. Not that I'm going to call that the end all be all, but he didn't jump off the tape against Seattle. There wasn't a whole lot going on there. So that may or may not work against him. Honestly, what fascinates me is when decisions are made. I think decisions to keep a player or cut a player are made at a lot of different times. And it felt to me like Stackhouse might have made this team a lot earlier on in camp, and he may not have been someone who had a lot to prove against the Seahawks. But it really does. It's a good point, with the special teams and everything, and Christian Welch, and you're going to have really an arm wrestling match between him and Isaiah Simmons. And, everybody keeps talking about, well, Isaiah Simmons loaded with potential, freak athlete, all of that, good special teams player, but can he be consistent enough to be kept on the defense and, be a justified player there for a spot? I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I mean, he improved each game. He got better each game in the preseason, and his best game, I believe, was against Seattle. And honestly, he had a pretty good game, but he was overshadowed by some other guys against Seattle. And you mentioned one of them, Brenton Cox. We're obviously talking about Christian Welch. They both had elite grades on PFF. Carl Brooks, even Dumas Johnson. I mean, all of these guys had an elite grade, an 88 I think it's 88 or above, or 86 or above. Hopper had an elite grade. Ignabari had an elite grade. Kamal Hayden had an elite grade. All of those guys. Usually you get like 1 or 2 elite grades in a game. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 elite grades there. So the defense had a great day. So if you just had a good day, you probably disappeared in it a little bit, which that's kind of where Simmons sits at. He had a good day, but, behind 6 great days, it doesn't really stand out as much. One that I'm very impressed with, and he didn't have a great grade here from PFF, but I bet his grade in the film room with the coaches is a lot higher, is Jonathan Baldwin. That chase down tackle from behind he had on the running back to save the tackle and ultimately ended up being a 7-point tackle because they held their own and they didn't allow the Seahawks to score on that drive. Dude, that's a big play. That's a big play. And he honestly, it almost looked like he took that away from Simmons because Simmons was coming up. He was right there. He was flexing some of his athleticism. He'll probably get credit for that in the film room. But Baldwin, man, he really impressed me. He's playing really well as a young DB. I believe he was undrafted, right?
Yeah, and they gave him like a big signing bonus.
Right. They wanted
so
him.
They
paid for him.
Right.
But yeah, he's one that, man, he really looks like he's playing like he wants a job, and King's not making it easy on him. Like they're gonna have to duke it out. It looks like maybe Baldwin was playing a little bit more safety though.
Yeah, he's more, and I think he'll end up on the practice squad. I think he's.
But yeah, I thought he earned himself a spot with that game against Seattle.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I can't see him making the 53. I think that's. There's too many safeties ahead of him, but certainly in the practice squad, sure. And then you don't know, what happens down the road, how he develops. But yeah, going back to Simmons, I thought it was probably his best game, certainly better than Jets game, maybe better than the Colts. And I think what really helps him is he's been there on their first team punt coverage unit as a gunner, which is crazy to think because he's a 6'4", 235-pound linebacker playing outside as a gunner on punt coverage, but he's been doing that throughout the preseason, made a play against the Seahawks. I think that helps him a lot, is what he could potentially be on special teams. But then you compare that to Welch, and Welch is a core special teams guy too if he makes the team. So it's like, okay, they both give you that value. I keep going back and forth between what I think they're going to end up doing. And Christian Welch had a good training camp last year, and they cut him. So he's having another good one this year. They may do it to him again, but man, he's such a good special teams player. It's like that's the kind of guy you want. You're like, yeah, he doesn't have the athletic ability of Isaiah Simmons. But probably if they were both playing on the field, you'd probably trust Welch a little more. Like to know his assignment, not blow things. Like, yeah, he's going to give some things up, and you don't want him playing too many snaps for you, but he's at least going to know where he's supposed to be, whereas Simmons is kind of all over the place. We saw it against the Jets. He was blowing assignments, getting lost out there. So it becomes like, do they want to bet on the athletic ability that Simmons provides, or are you going to, just know what you have in Welch and go with that? Or do you keep both? I don't know if there's a way that you can keep both of them. I think it's possible with some of the injuries at other positions and the way the roster may shake out that they both make it. they're probably going to come down to one or two. And, and shout out again, you mentioned Hopper too. Hopper should be in consideration for taking some snaps from McDuffie at this point. Hopper's made the second-year jump. I mean, he as a rookie last year, he looked lost, and he looks like a completely different player this year. And it's great to see and the progress he's made. I think at some point this year he's going to be getting some snaps for them on defense, whether that's through injury or just the fact that they can't keep him off the field.
Yeah, no, he's absolutely taken a step, and that's just exciting, man. Like it's exciting to not only like we're sitting here, we can't wait to see what Cooper does. But it's like Hopper's like, hey, I'm here too. Check it out. All right, man.
And it gives them something to think about long term as far as their linebacker room goes beyond.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. And there's if you look in the recent history of Super Bowl winners, Super Bowl teams, they've got good linebackers. I mean, man, I remember the years of the 49ers. Man, why are their names escaping me? 52 and 53. Why can't Patrick Willis and
Navarro
Bowman? Oh my gosh, man. Those dudes were a nightmare. I just dreamed about having those guys in the middle of my defense, and now it feels like we might. You know what I mean? I mean, we can't go putting those kind of crowns on them just yet, but I mean, these guys look good, so I'm very excited about the linebackers, man. That might be the position I'm most excited about coming out. Hopper's definitely taking a step. Hopefully keeps taking a step. More steps, Hopper, more steps. Let's check out some of the comments. We got some people with us tonight. Bob Swede, good to see you. Glad you're with us, Bob. He says, hey, guys. Hey, Bob. Thanks, Bob. Glad you're with us. We got Bill Patsis. Good evening, gents. Good evening, Bill. Thank you for being with us, sir. Good to see you. And we got, let's see here, Jutta time. If we traded for O-line for spot 7, we should at least get another DB. What do you think about that? Is there, you think there's a deal lurking around for a cornerback? Or do you think they try to get somebody off waivers?
I think it's probably more likely a waiver deal, but you never know. It could be something that we're looking at. I think for sure there's 4 locks there, the top 3 that we know. And then Melton's making the team. And hope, I think they view him a lot for special teams, at least initially. And then Kalen King, I think, is making his team, whether they keep 5 or 6, and whether they add somebody from outside or it's, an internal guy. Kalen King had a really good preseason. He's shown that he can play outside and inside. He's probably more of a slot guy, but he had a really nice game against Seattle. He comes up and plays against the run, plays aggressively. He's another guy, kind of like Hopper. Like he made the jump. Last year, he was on the practice squad all year. He was getting past, wasn't even getting game day call-ups. Hayden, who wasn't with them in the preseason last year, he was getting called up on the activations ahead of King. King was really far behind, and different player this year. He's he really made the jump and improved his game. So I think Kalen King's making the team. And then if they keep 6, is that Valentine? Is it Mike Robinson? Is it Hayden, who had another guy who had a nice game against Seattle? It was with them last year. Or as it's being suggested here in the comments, do they go outside and look to add somebody? I think it's more likely they just keep one of their guys on the 53 to go with King, but again, that's a position. It wouldn't surprise me if they did, and I think they should look at that position just because 1 or 2 injuries and that depth gets really thin, and I'm not sure you want to be counting on, as good as Bo Melton has looked in his transition, I don't know if you want to be counting on him to play a lot of snaps for you at corner. Special teams, fine, but cornerback, I don't know. And then you got a lot of inexperience after Melton. So, yeah, if there's somebody out there on the waiver wire, I'm all for that because I think you can get, whether it's Valentine, whether it's Robinson, Hayden, I think you can get a couple of those guys on the practice squad and be okay. So, wouldn't surprise me to answer the question, wouldn't surprise me if they get a corner.
Yeah, but I do think King has earned his spot.
Yes.
He's playing, his improvement feels a lot like Hopper's improvement, where you watch him and he looks like he's playing comfortable. He looks like he's not guessing at what he should be doing. He looks like he's really out there playing the position, knows what he's got to do. Here, I'm going to go do it, and that is, I can't say how much of a great sign that is. That's such a great sign. We'll see. He's definitely one of those on the bubble. I do believe he's made the roster. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they looked outside the building for another DB. But I also think that they like the flexibility they have with the guys they've got, right? In a pinch, you do have Bullard who can play some cornerback if you need to. You got guys that can shuffle around down from that safety position if you need to. So I don't know how urgent they feel like it is looking at it just as a cornerback room. I think maybe more they're looking at it as a DB room. And that may be where it's like, yeah, if they do make a move, I would expect it to be more of a waiver wire move. It looked like there was already some guys today that were out there that were being floated around as potential options. So, that seems way more likely to me. And, Goot's done a pretty good job with the waiver wire and floating around on practice squad rosters. He hasn't really had to trade much to get some good DBs. So, excuse me. That's what I would expect, unless there's a guy that they really like and, they like the price they can get him for. But yeah, very, very exciting. These things we have to talk about, these are good things, like I do remember last year being let down that Welch didn't make it. And then one of the tight ends made it. What was his name? Either way, he wasn't having a good preseason, and the tight end made it and Welch didn't. So sometimes that happens. I think that they are kind of, at the mercy of the numbers in a lot of cases. So you're going to be given, certain number of players on the offense, certain number of players on the defense, and somebody you think maybe is better might get cut because they're on the other side of the ball, and that's just how many spots they've got. Bill's got a good comment here. It says, Butkus needs to be held accountable for the lack of depth, which made it necessary to trade for no lineman. I think he needs to be held accountable for the sloppiness his offensive line starts the season with on a regular basis, man. Can we not start the season with holding calls and false starts and just flags on flags on flags? Maybe. Anyway, yeah, I want accountability for Butkus too. Our friend, sorry, man, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. Shouldn't the front office and the GM be held accountable too for the offensive line? Like, they drafted Jacob Monk, and they might.
I'm not ready to give up on Jacob Monk yet.
I know he's your guy, but
he's only in year 2. He's in year 2. There's still some things there.
It's not good so far.
It's not good. It's not good.
They,
off to a rough start.
Right. And look, they have 7 offensive linemen that are pretty. And I know Belton right now is a work in progress, right? Like, he's got a lot to clean up, but I think he's going to be good down, a year or 2 from now. But he's a rookie, and he needs to improve a lot of things. So they have 7 guys, and now with Kennard, they have 8 guys. That's not too bad. There's a lot of teams out there that, like, they're looking for, like, 2 starters or 3 starters, right? Like, they would kill to have Green Bay set up in depth. So, yes, like, they haven't developed enough of their depth, but Travis Glover got hurt, and Kadeem Telfer was an undrafted guy. Like, you're kind of getting out of him what you're getting, right? And Donovan Jennings was undrafted. Like, you're just, I don't know how high the ceiling is with those kind of guys, like, so they've done a pretty good job with Zach Tom, right? And Elton Jenkins and Sean Rhines developed a lot since his rookie year, right? And Rasheed Walker was a 7th-round pick. I think they deserve some credit for those guys too.
Okay, that's fair. Tim's got some good balanced perspective for us here. There is a little bit of overachieving happening with some of them. Maybe that's just brilliant scouting on the scouting department's
could be that.
Maybe
too.
It's brilliant coaching. It's a little bit of tale old as time. Which comes first? Who knows? Was Montana because of Rice, or was Rice because of Montana? I don't know. Maybe they just, like, it was lightning striking. Both of them were all-time greats at the same time. Either way. Yeah, I would like some accountability for Butkus, but maybe it's like a slap on the hand. Like, hey, dude, get it together. We don't need to call for his job yet, but we see you, Butkus. We expect better. Come on, man. Chris the Casual Inn hanging out with us. Good to see you, man. Countdown to week 1. Excuse me, fellas. A little bit of dyslexia kicking in there. But yes, we are 1 week away from Packers football. Can't wait. Well, 2 weeks, I guess. I'm ahead of myself. It's still Monday. All right. And he also says Belton is an NFL guard too. No way quick enough on feet to handle edge, in my opinion. Maybe. I think that's more of a technique thing than anything else. I'd give him some time on that one because I don't think that Rasheed Walker's any more quick on his feet than Belton is, but he's got good technique. So maybe. All right. So tomorrow, 53. Do you have any jarring predictions for us, Tim? Anybody you think is going to be a surprise cut?
Not really. No, I don't have. Sorry to take the fun out of it or the shock out of it. I don't.
Nah.
I can't think of some. I mean, I shouldn't say I can't think of someone who would be surprising, but they cut Josh Sitton 1 year. Nobody saw that coming. I don't think there's a Josh Sitton kind of cut coming. So no, there's nobody surprising that they could cut. Realistically, I mean, if they cut Jordan Love, yeah, we're going to be shocked. But
right.
No, I not really. I think there might be some surprising guys who could possibly sneak onto the roster, but as far as cuts go, there's nobody that really jumps out there unless maybe. And we already talked about it, maybe a Colby Wooden, just if they think that Stackhouse and Brinson, because they're younger, maybe have a little more upside down the line, maybe. But I think Wooden's had a good camp in preseason, and the added weight's going to help him hold up. Like that would be surprising to me, but maybe they say we can't go with 6 defensive tackles, and they don't want to cut the 2 young Georgia kids yet.
Yeah, I think that's where it could come, a surprise maybe on D-line. I'm not sure Aaron Mosby's going to make it, even though he's had a good preseason.
Yeah. That's going to come down to – I think that might come down to if Sorrell goes on injured reserve or not.
Yeah. So that's there's a few. There's definitely a few that I think could be, that deserve to be on a roster, I guess is, a good way to put it. Mosby should be on a roster. If he doesn't make this one, he should be on one. Corey Ballantyne's another one. I could see him making the roster as somebody that they're comfortable with over a Hayden. I don't know if I see him making it over King. I think King has solidified himself on there. But yeah, I mean, what about on the offensive side of the ball? Do you think Malik Heath has done enough to make it as a receiver?
Probably, but it's going to come down to obviously Heath versus Hardman, and if they really want Hardman to be their punt returner and maybe occasional kickoff returner, but punt returner, then I guess you take Hardman over him. But Malik Heath has been running ahead of him on the depth chart all summer. Because obviously the receivers have missed a ton of reps, a ton of practices. Malik Heath has been the guy running with the starters over Hardman. So that tells you something. Malik Heath also made a couple tackles in special teams in the preseason games. So that helps his case too, if he can show that he can be a special teams contributor. It's just, to me, the deciding factor is, do they really want Hardman to be a punt returner? And then you're almost taking a guy exclusively to just be a punt returner. I don't know. That's typically not how they do things, but maybe they just look at it like, we got to get Jaden Reed off punt returns. Not that he's terrible at it. It's just he doesn't give you a whole lot of returns. They want to take wear and tear, potential injury off him, which I get.
Right.
So I could kind of understand it, but again, like Hardman's probably not going to give you much, if anything, offensively. So are you going to have a roster spot for just a punt returner?
And is he even your best punt returner?
Right, that too. Like,
I don't know.
He might be, but I mean, those 2 decisions against the Jets were terrible. Now, that might have been him just trying to make an impression, and certainly made an impression, a bad one, but just trying to make some plays. So, yeah, I think Heath makes it, and they figure out. I probably ends up being Jaden Reed, but again, Jaden Reed's not even healthy at this point. So, like, do you want to put him back there? I think they figure it out. As far as punt returner goes, maybe, and that could be another position. Maybe they like some, but maybe they cut both of them, right? Or they cut one of them, keep the other one on the initial 53 and then take somebody off waivers and end up cutting. So say you keep Malik Heath at the cut down, the next day they claim somebody and then maybe they cut Malik Heath at that point. And that receiver could be somebody that is a punt returner too. Like, so it could be some kind of roster gymnastics that way. But I think Heath makes it at least initially over Hardman.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I really do think he makes it. It's going to be interesting to see what they do when Watson's ready to come back.
Yeah.
But I think Malik Heath gives you, I mean, we're talking about versatility and snaps. I mean, he can play special teams too. I mean, I think there's a case to be made that Heath's got more special teams value than even Hardman, unless Hardman's, going to be an all-pro returner, kind of like Keyshawn Nixon was. He's a bully, man. He's probably your best blocking receiver, and he's good too. He's making good catches. He's making big catches. You can't deny the guy. So yeah, I think that they do find a way to keep Heath on the roster, but I don't think Hardman makes it. I just don't think that there's enough value there. I don't think, as receiver 6 or whatever he'd end up being, and just an average punt returner is what it looks like to me. I just don't see anything that you can't accomplish with other guys on the roster already. And maybe Golden ends up taking some of those too. It's not necessarily what you want to do, but the guy is going to be one of the fastest ones on the field. That usually makes for a good returner, and he's used to carrying the ball. So, I think that Hardman probably doesn't make it. I think Malik Heath does make it. That's where I would draw that line. Man, I mean, other than the offensive line, I mean, who do you think on the offensive line, like, where do you think the cut line gets drawn here? I guess I'm looking at some of these guys, and based on their preseason performance, you could cut all of them, but
yeah,
we can't do that. You need numbers.
So I still think they're going to keep 9. It's possible they just keep 8. But I still think they keep 9, and it's obviously the ones we talked about, Belton and Kennard being 7th and 8th after the top 6.
Yeah.
So those are your 8, and then it's going to come down to, Jacob Monk, who has a hamstring injury, so we don't know how serious that is. Maybe he's a guy that could be IR designated to return, or maybe he'll be fine and they can carry him. He'll be all right. Or is it Telford? He hasn't shown me enough and hasn't really played guard too much, so he's just a tackle. And I don't know. He hasn't shown me enough to carry him. Donovan Jennings, who it seems like they were really force feeding, like he was getting a lot of reps with the injuries up front with the starting group, but he just doesn't look very good, and he's probably a guard only. I wouldn't do that. Maybe they see there's still some development there. And then the other dude, and shout out to Jersey Al, because I think he's the only one that of the million roster predictions I've read today. He predicted Lycidas Smith to make the team. And I think that's interesting. I think it could happen realistically. He was with them last year in training camp, and I believe New England signed him off the practice squad, and I think he started some games for them at guard. He's like a guard center. They brought him back this summer. He looks decent. Like, he's got a little bit of NFL experience too. He's been with them for the last 2 summers. Maybe he's the surprise guy on the offensive line, and they put Monk on IR. Could be.
I could see that. I just think it's too early for them to give up on Monk. He was what, like a 5th round pick or something? 5th rounder.
Yeah, and I think he ends up being the 9th guy. Unless the only way is like maybe they put him on IR because he hurt his hamstring. So then he'll be back later in the year. So it'd be someone else. But otherwise, I think it will end up being Monk because I don't know if they're ready to give up on him quite yet.
Well, and another one that I'm looking at here as we're kind of perusing through the preseason, the guy who had your best grade on offense against the Seahawks is Brant Banks, number 72, right tackle. He has an elite pass rush grade here, and he was the highest graded offensive player against the Seahawks. But you go back, he had a fine grade against the Colts. Not great, not terrible. And then going back to week 1, I'm going here to look at that. Okay, and again, average, but his pass blocking is phenomenal. He's 80 or above on his pass blocking in each game. It's his run blocking that's costing him and really making him probably look a lot worse than he is. But as we sit here and, I was kind of tongue-in-cheek talking about the depth that the Packers have at tackle, and maybe other teams wish they had some depth like that, one in particular. It's players like that I wonder, like, we haven't talked about Brant Banks at all. I don't know anybody who has. I haven't heard anybody talk about this guy, but he looks like he's had a really solid preseason and might be another one that maybe he makes it down to the practice squad, but you got some tackle depth there.
Sure. Yeah, I'm all for that. That's the kind of guy you put on the practice squad, right?
Hell yeah, man.
And maybe next year he's in the running for a 53-man roster spot.
But they appear to have a little bit of a farm going here, so it is very encouraging, and you just never know when it might be beneficial for a trading situation that you might find yourself in.
You never know.
You just never know. But anyway, all right. So as we're sitting here, I didn't create like a depth chart for us to predict like a full 53, and we've kind of talked through it. I don't know that there's any surprises. Like I said, if you want to check out a final 53, I point you to Jersey Gal. He put it out there through Cheesehead TV. Great article, great prediction. Actually, maybe we could just run through that real quick. We'll lean on.
We can do ours. We can do it real quick.
You think we can do ours? Why don't we
can just go positions?
Well, okay, right? Yeah, let's go position by position here.
You can bring up out. So quarterback, there's 2 guys, right? And then
obviously, yes.
I don't know what to do with the third quarterback. To me, I'd be looking for somebody from another team to add to the practice squad. I don't think either one are good enough. But
and I think Algersma, you can get him onto the practice squad.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of you can be done with the Clifford experiment. Yeah. Let him go surf somewhere else.
Yeah. Maybe there's somebody better for the practice squad. Right?
Yeah. No, there's others floating around out there. I think, what was it? Hendon Hooker got released by the Lions, and some people were floating that out.
Yeah, maybe you get some information on the new Lions offense, right? New offensive coordinator.
Hey there.
Keep him around for that a little bit. You never know.
Now we're playing chess. That's what I'm talking about, Tim. All right, we're gonna go poach some rival talent.
Hey,
and see what we can learn.
Get all the information. Maybe they've been game planning for the Packers already. You can share some things.
Oh, I bet they could.
Pick his brain.
Bet they could. All right, so quarterback, not much to say there. Running back, Josh Jacobs, the man. Behind him, I mean, I don't know if Lloyd will ever come back. He's snake bitten. And then who's RB3/2?
Well, it's Wilson and Brooks, and that's with Lloyd starting on injured reserve, which I would think that's what they're going to do. Shut him down and let him heal up again and hopefully come back healthy. If for whatever reason, if they decide he doesn't need that, then it gets interesting, because do they keep 4 backs until he's ready to go? Seems like a lot, but they do like Brooks and Wilson a lot. So I think it'll be Lloyd on IR and then Brooks and Wilson behind Jacobs, just like it was last year.
Yeah, I like that. Brooks and Wilson, they're solid, man. I really do like them as backups. And, the guys behind them, Johnson and Abenikonda. I think I said that right. They had solid preseasons, man. It was fun watching them run. They did well, but, I just don't think you're cracking that lineup anywhere. I think Wilson and Brooks are really kind of a 2A, 2B. I don't really know that there's a whole lot of difference between who's who there. It's just going to be the hot hand, but I like both of them. I think they're both solid runners, but they're also both gritty pass protection guys. Like they like to hit, man. So that's what you want to see from your running backs. All right, tight ends. We know we got Kraft and Musgrave at the top. We got Ben Sims there. I mean, are you keeping a 4th tight end?
Well, I think Fitzpatrick's ahead of him.
You think Fitzpatrick's ahead of Sims?
Yeah, he's had the better camp from what everybody said, and he was running ahead of Sims, playing ahead of Sims at the end of last season. So I think Fitzpatrick's the 3rd. And then it becomes, do you keep Sims? And I know they play him a lot on special teams, so maybe they see value in that. But do you keep 3 or 4? Kind of seems crazy to me that you would keep 4 of those guys, but I kind of think they might do it. Keep Sims with Fitzpatrick.
Did you know how tall Fitzpatrick is?
He's big, right? How tall?
He's 6'7".
Yeah, that's a big dude.
Yeah, you're keeping him. You
Yeah.
can get him on field goal block. You know what I'm saying?
Seriously, throw him some jump balls now in the red zone.
He might win a game against the Bears. Like that's a big time position. Very, very important.
Right up the middle.
Okay, yeah. So based on that, we're keeping Fitzpatrick. Sorry, Ben Sims, you've been good. He's been a solid guy for a couple of years. Appreciate you. But yeah, we're gonna keep the 6'7" guy. We already got a 6'5", 250 guy. We don't need another one. We don't have a 6'7" guy. He's probably the tallest dude on the team. He's got to be. I don't think there's a lineman that's 6'7".
Yeah. 6'7's gotta be the tallest, right? Yeah.
Oh, so there you go. All right. So we're keeping. We got. I think they're keeping 3. I don't think that they could justify keeping a 4th tight end unless Ben Sims or even Lumpkin. I know Lumpkin's been getting some reps there in the preseason. Unless they just lit up the special teams and we didn't realize it. I just don't think that you're keeping tight end 4 at this point. You can probably shuffle the deck, get somebody on the practice squad, and hope for the best on your top 3 there. All right, so then moving into the offensive line, Elgin Jenkins, the center. Who's our backup center? Is it going to be Sean Ryan?
He's definitely the number 2. Like if something happens to Jenkins, it's Ryan.
So you got center locked down there. I don't think we need to talk about who's center number 3 at this point. Then you move into guard, and now we talked about Jennings. I don't think Jennings is making it. You don't think Jennings is making it. Lecita Smith or Lectis Smith? How do you say it?
I'm saying Lecitus. I might be saying it wrong.
Lecitus. We'll go with that. Sounds slick.
I don't know.
Lecitus Smith. I haven't watched him in the preseason, but he did have some good grades. I'm not end all be all on PFF, but it's really helpful, especially when you haven't seen certain reps, to just get an idea where a guy's at. So yeah, if Al thinks he's going to make it, then I think he's going to make it. I'll be with Al on this one. We got this. And then, who your starters are with your guards. You got Banks on one side, assuming he comes back and he's healthy, and then probably Sean Ryan, a right guard.
Yeah, he's your starter at right guard as long as everybody else is healthy. Yeah, he's there.
Okay.
So I think it comes down to, like, are you thinking 9 offensive linemen or 10? And I think we probably agree that just 9 of these guys, right? Like the starters, Belton, now Kennard, who they brought in, and then Monk would be 8, and then your 9th guy, you're saying Smith?
I think Smith. I mean, if again, I hadn't gotten to watch him. He had some good PFF grades, but again, Brant Banks, he might be a sneaky one. He might sneak his way in there. He's got some really strong pass rush grades, and you know what? Brant Banks is 6'7", so there you go. Our tight end Fitzpatrick can't be the tallest guy on the team anymore. We have another 6'7" guy. I don't know, man. You got elite pass rush grades across 3 preseason games. I don't know what he did in the one-on-ones, and obviously we haven't talked about Brant Banks at all. But it raises my eyebrows a little bit. Like, hey, man, who is this guy? And the coaches and the decision makers certainly are going to know better than we do. So that's an interesting one to me. But yeah, based on what we kind of went over, I think Smith would be my last one beyond the guys that we mentioned. So no surprises there. But again, just keep an eye out for Brant Banks, guys. Just keep an eye out. It's interesting. All right, so let's switch over to the defense. Let's start in the trenches there where we left off on the offense. So on the interior defensive line, I mean, it really does, and we've kind of spoken definitively about it throughout this episode now, but it does kind of feel set, right? You got Clark and Wyatt, you got Brooks and Wooden, and then you got Brinson Stackhouse, and so where does that line get drawn? Does it get drawn at, after Brinson? Does it get drawn after Stackhouse? Is there a surprise cut somewhere in there? Where in there is it 5 or is it 6? Essentially, they wouldn't do less than 5, or
No,
would they?
no,
So
no.
yeah. So yeah, then there's just not a whole lot to discuss there. I don't think anybody beyond Brinson and Stackhouse. There's a couple other names up there. I don't think any of those guys are cracking the roster here. I haven't seen any plays from those types to suggest that. But then we go out to the edges, and then we're looking at, you got Gary and Van Ness as your starters, right? We got Inigbare and Brenton Cox behind that. And then Oliver and Sorrell. I think, is Sorrell healthy again? Is he back?
So, well, Oliver's on PUP. He isn't practicing.
I know Oliver's on PUP.
So he's going to start on PUP. So count him out. No, Sorrell hasn't come back. It's a sprained knee, he said. But they said it's not going to be that much time. Now, I don't know what that much time means. So I guess it's possible they make him one of the IR designated to return guys for his roster spot. But if he's only going to miss like a week or two, then they could just carry him on the roster, right? And just go with those 5. So I think if Sorrell's not on IR, he's a 4th-round pick. He's making the team, and he looked good. I mean, he looked really good against the Jets the one game he played.
Well, and fun fact, shout out to Jacob Morley for this one. Barron Sorrell led all rookie edge rushers in QB hits this preseason. And he only played 1 game.
Yeah.
So there's some potential flash in there.
Sure. Yeah, he looked good. And it sucks he got hurt. So we didn't really see him. He got hurt, I think, on a kickoff against the Colts right at the beginning of the game. So we didn't see him against the Colts, and obviously we didn't see him against the Seahawks. But he's making the team. I think the only question at defensive end is, does Mosby make it? And Mosby's a guy they like in special teams more than he is on defense. And I think that comes down to, is Sorrell on injured reserve to start the season? And if he is, then I think it opens up for Mosby. But if he's not, then I don't think they can carry 6 guys at defensive end.
Well, let's reference a nice reliable source here. Our buddy Ken Ingalls. He's got his 53 projection out here, and he actually shows Barron Sorrell as a defensive end, not on reserve or PUP or anything like that. So he's got him on his final 53 counting on the roster, and it does look like Mosby is odd man out at that point based on Ken's final 53. Shout out Ken Ingalls. Great follow. The best salary cap follow for the Packers as far as I know. You got a better salary cap follow for?
Ken's the man.
Ken is the man. If you want to know about the salary cap things going on with the Pack, you got to follow that guy. So his final 53 would have some intelligence baked into it, right? Like he's thought about that, who would be on PUP and who wouldn't. And he does not have Sorrell there. He has him active on that roster. He's also got Stackhouse making it for what that's worth, All right. So then at the ends, we believe it comes down to Mosby then, right? I mean, that's kind of where you're drawing the line. Does he make it or does he not? Is there anybody else that's even justifying some competition there?
Probably not, but the one dude who's made some plays in preseason and did against the Seahawks is Deslin Alexander. I think he's going he's going to be a practice squad guy, I think, but he's looked good in the preseason now. Again, he's playing against a lot of backups and deep reserves on other teams, but he's flashed, so I think there's a spot on the practice squad.
Yes, Alexander has flashed. He's been consistent. It does feel like one of those guys that you hope you can stash him on the practice squad, maybe develop him, and he's got something to say about the roster spot next year, maybe. But I have noticed him. As well. Okay, so yeah, other than that, there's really not a whole lot to talk about on the edges. The question comes down to, does Mosby make it or not? He is a good special teams contributor, and he has made some flashes. I got to say, when he's been on the field, he's made his presence known. So, I'd like to see him stay, but, that's what we're doing here. There's we'd like to keep 90 guys, right? It's too bad we got to get down to 53. Why can't we get down to 65 or something? Anyway, not enough money to go around, probably. All right, so then the middle linebackers now. I mean, this is another one. This is kind of a fun conversation because where do you draw this line? And I know Isaiah Simmons is right about there where you're pointing it. But we got Quay Walker, we got Cooper, Edgerrin Cooper, we got Tyron Hopper. I'm going to call Tyron Hopper linebacker number 3. I'm calling him not LB3 right now, and McDuffie will be LB4.
Yeah, I
know
would like to say it, but
he will be
eventually. Maybe
I think that will happen. I think the exchange will happen there. So you don't go down LB4 there through through McDuffie and Hopper, and then we come to Christian Welch, Isaiah Simmons. Now, we saw this last year where we thought Welch deserved to be on the team. He had a great preseason, looked like a stud, and then, he doesn't make it. And so just because you have a great preseason doesn't mean you're going to make it, and then there's a couple other guys. Dumas Johnson, he had a few plays in the preseason where it wasn't bad. But yeah, I think really that line is right there somewhere around Isaiah Simmons and Christian Welch, and I'm not sure. I think what I ultimately think is the Packers will keep Simmons. I don't know that that's the right move. But I think just because of how good your top 4 are, you don't need 6 linebackers, right? I think that line does get drawn at number 5. So whether that's Welch or Simmons, I think is going to be really interesting. And I bet it does come down to whoever graded higher on special teams in the preseason. I don't have that. I don't know. I'm sure we could dig far enough in PFF to find it, but
yeah. But I mean, I think you're right. It's tough to see 6, but I think it's possible to keep both Welch and Simmons, or depending on how the rest of the positions shake out. But they're both going to be looked at as special teams guys, right? Like, Simmons he's had a rough preseason, so there's no spot for him on the field on defense. He's just a special teams guy, but they obviously like him for that if they're putting him on the first team punt coverage as a gunner. And then Welch is, he's made his career so far with the Ravens and with Denver as a special teams guy. So that's what he is. I'm with you. I think it's probably going to be Simmons, but I can also see them keeping both. And if they do, I think that's probably Rich Bisaccia has a lot to say, because he's got to be he probably really wants Welch because he's reliable and he can play all the different units and he can play them really well. So, yeah, I think if Welch makes it, Bisaccia wins out, right? So I'm rooting for him because he should have made it last year. He probably should make it this year. It's a numbers game, and yeah, we'll see. Either way, these guys are special teams guys at this point.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, obviously injuries happen, so we can't assume that LB 1 through 4 will play all of the snaps throughout the season. But yeah, I mean, assuming 1 through 4 are healthy, Simmons and Welch are not competing for defensive snaps at this point. They're competing for a spot and special teams. That doesn't mean they couldn't. Again, what you're seeing right now, like what we called out with Tyron Hopper and Kalen King specifically, as kind of a sign of the rest too, is that getting comfortable within the system, right? And their play looks different once they're comfortable within the system. They like I mentioned, you're more confident. You can take that athletic ability and inject it to the best ability possible instead of sitting there trying to analyze what you're supposed to be doing. So I want to give Simmons room for that growth too. You know what I mean? Now that we've seen it too, you've seen it with other players. Like, all right, like Tyron Hopper didn't look good last year. Simmons doesn't look good right now, but you give him some time in the system, and maybe it doesn't take a whole year. Maybe it just takes a few games in the season, some film study, some situations to see what's going on. And then all of a sudden things can click. But I want to give Simmons the opportunity for that growth to see okay, he can take that step forward once he gets comfortable within the defense, and he can use his athletic ability, which seems to be superior. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that all comes together. And yeah, the decisions are definitely going to be made on special teams, you know. And Bisaccia he's got the film. He's watched those guys. He probably has a good understanding of where they stand next to each other and which one he would prefer. But I bet he's banging the table for both. So, all right. So we've gone through the linebackers there. I mean, really, we can go on now to the safeties real quick because the safeties are pretty easy, man. You know, you've got your top four, kind of similar to the linebacking group. You got McKinney and Williams as your starters, and Bullard and Oladapo as the backups there. Zane Anderson fits in there somewhere, but he's injured. So right now you got those top four. And I mean, is there anybody else? I mean, even special teams guys, I think that's about it.
I mean, Omar Brown.
Brown, but he's hurt too.
Yeah, but it sounds like he might be closer to coming back. I mean, I think it's going to be the four that you mentioned. And I think Zane Anderson makes it too. Unless, again, he could be one of those IR guys designated to return later on. If not, then I think he makes it because they love him on special teams too. So probably those five are your five safeties. I don't think Omar Brown's stealing the spot, but practice squad, sure.
Well, and as because we're coming up on the corners next, I'm looking at Jonathan Baldwin specifically because I was pretty impressed with him, and it did look like he was taking safety snaps, but I might have misjudged that. But he's 6'1", 200. I mean, you know, in comparison to Javon Bullard, who is actually listed as a cornerback on this one, Bullard is 5'11", 195. You know, so it's not like Baldwin can't also maybe take up some safety snaps. He's got some size for it. And I wonder if they're looking at any of those guys as well. Is like when you're making those decisions, like for example, if it comes down to a decision between Bo Melton and somebody else, Bo Melton's probably going to lose because he's just barely a cornerback, right? You're not talking to this guy about learning safety yet. He's still got to learn corner. Whereas a guy like Baldwin, he might be a guy that can take corner snaps and safety snaps. He's got the size for it. He seems to have the demeanor for it, the attitude for it. You know, again, chasing down that running back against Seattle was a really impressive play, but also he's, you know, sticking his nose in there and making some tough tackles. So I wonder how many of those decisions are getting made right now about versatility and all of that, because that's one that I would look at. And, you know, there's like a Micah Robinson's the other one. He's a rookie. I think Jonathan Baldwin separated himself from Micah Robinson with versatility. And Robinson's not playing safety. He's 184. You know, he's not big enough to take hits from running backs coming straight up the middle. But yeah, I think Baldwin took a step, man, with versatility, with the attitude, with the plays that he made. And that's where you look at the safeties and go, hey, maybe he can also play some safety reps and he can make himself more valuable than like a Bo Melton, like I said, where Bo Melton's going to be strictly special teams and some emergency corner reps, I would imagine. So an interesting thing to think about there, man. But yeah, so you got your safety position pretty well locked down. All right, so cornerback, we're looking at Keyshawn Nixon. We're looking at Nate Hobbs. We're looking at Valentine. Is King number 4?
Well, Bo Melton is 4. I mean, he's making the team.
What's that?
Bo Melton's 4.
You think
he's your 4th?
Do you think Bo Melton's number 4?
Yeah. I think they're playing him like he's number 4. He's going to be relied on a lot for special teams. I think he's definitely making it. And then after that, yeah, I think Kalen King. Kalen King. I think Kalen King's making it too. He's had a really good camp, really good preseason, shown aggressiveness. He can play slot, he can play outside. I think he's making it. I think those are your 5. And then it becomes who's number 6 if they keep a 6th one. And I know a lot of people are saying they might just go with 5, which, yeah, maybe they do. Do they keep a 6? Is it Hayden? Is it Robinson? Is it Valentine? Or is it maybe it's somebody else that's not on their roster, which I think is also possible. My thought is Hayden might have played his way onto the team. I know they liked him last year. He wasn't with them, and they had signed him to the practice squad. And then he elevated him, I think, for 2 or 3 games, to be a depth cornerback for him. he had gotten hurt, so I think he missed the Jets game and came back for the Colts game, and he was struggling there, but he was just getting back, and then he played really well against Seattle. He's a little bit of a taller cornerback too. I think he might have snuck his way on there as number 6 because you know what you have in Valentine, which isn't bad, but it's fine. And he might be a guy you can bring to the practice squad as well because I don't know if he's going to get picked up anywhere. I mean, he was just let go by, I think the Colts had signed him and they let him go. Hayden they probably view him as maybe having the potential to be more down the line than what Valentine is. So, yeah, I think Hayden might sneak his way on there as cornerback 6.
Well, that would be an interesting one. No, I don't know. So Hayden is one I haven't seen as many plays from this preseason as King. Like King, I feel like really has made himself known. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think Hayden makes it. I think you probably draw the line after King, like Bo Melton, King, and then Ballantyne. I think is like you try to get him to the practice squad with Hayden. But then, these other guys like, Baldwin, I think he might have figured out a way to get on the team. We'll see. Robinson, I don't. He's had a solid preseason, but I think he'll be a practice squad guy. But overall, I think the secondary is in great shape. And the fact that they're already taking on injuries and they're able to adjust from that, I think is a huge deal. And that's going to be the key to this secondary being good throughout the season is guys being able to shuffle around as guys get hurt. Because it's just going to happen. I mean, every year we're sitting here hoping, I hope they don't get hurt. As if there's this magical season where nobody gets hurt. It's like the last time the Packers won the Super Bowl, they had the most players on IR. You know what I mean? Like we got to accept the fact that injuries are part of this game, and your strategy has to basically be around adapting to injuries. Shoot, not having a good enough backup plan for Bakhtiari kept you out of a Super Bowl. Anyway, I'm very excited about this roster, though, man. Are you excited about this? Do you feel like it was a successful preseason?
Not really. No, I feel like there were just too many injuries, and it's hard to get a read on several positions on this team. Like it just felt kind of disjointed, especially offensively. I mean, receivers, so many of them were hurt and out of the lineup, and then there was injuries here and there on the offensive line. Jordan Love missing the end of camp, which I guess it's not a big deal, but it was just kind of played in all the other injuries too. Like I just don't have a great feel for the offense going into the season. So yeah, I wouldn't say it was a great camp. Seen worse for sure, but it made it hard for me to get a read on where they're going to be at the start of the season offensively.
Well, I mean, you're right. I can't argue with you. It is a little disappointing when you don't get to see everything because of injuries. But I think what we saw from the defense this preseason can be very exciting. It can absolutely be a sign of what is to come. And maybe the Packers have to start the season relying on their defense, winning games, 17-13 and whatever. Those are ugly games and they'll be frustrating games, but winning those games is a big deal. And if you've got a good enough defense to win games like that, that's championship caliber stuff right there. So I'd be fine with it. If you got to start the season relying on the defense to be good, no problem with that. None at all. Because the defense seems like it's up to the task. And you'll find out week 1. I mean, the Lions are going to come in. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be an easy test to start off. You got to go stop some pretty good players. But I'm excited about the defense most of all. I think it was a successful preseason for the defense and a successful preseason for the offense in that there weren't more injuries. Let's be optimistic about this thing.
Sure.
Jordan Love got his injury out of the way, got that fixed. So there's no issues there. We don't have to worry about that. But yeah, you would have liked to have seen more from the offense in the preseason. So we'll call it a success for the defense and maybe like a draw for the offense, which nobody likes a draw anyway. So that kind of sucks. Right. It's like a quasi loss, but they didn't lose, right? And preseason doesn't matter. But
and at least
real quick, I guess before we get wrapped up here, we're going a little bit long. I want to jump into the comments and shout out to some of our friends here. We got our buddy Matthew Tan says, "Can I do a shout out to Carly?" That's it's his friend Carly. Hi, Carly, for Matthew. Glad to have you with us, Matthew, man. Always good. And he's asking Miles, "How's your fantasy football squad?" So I did actually finish that as we were doing the podcast. So just multitasking a little bit. But we can. We're late enough in the show. I'll give a little roster readout. Of course, the quarterback is Jordan Love. Let's not get it twisted. We're going after Jordan Love this season. And then my receivers, I got Harrison Jr. and DK Metcalf. So some strong receivers there. And of course, a good fantasy team is built on good running backs, right? So we got Derrick Henry, we got Bucky Irving at RB1 and 2. We got Trey McBride at tight end. Isaiah Pacheco in my flex spot, and in my second flex spot, of course, Matthew Golden. Let's, again, not get it twisted here. We're out to win championships, so we must have champions, which is what Matthew Golden, Jordan Love are about to be. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty solid. Felt pretty good about it. Not too upset about that. Got a few decent players on the bench as well. But, Tim, you got any fantasy drafts you're doing?
I am not. I'm not doing fantasy again this year. I'm out of the game. It's too much. It's too much.
It's a lot, man. Yeah. It really is a lot.
Yeah, no. I think I've given up on fantasy for good. But good luck. Good luck to everybody that plays, and
Yeah, thanks, man.
I know it's
for
fun,
me.
But
it makes the games a little bit more interesting. When I got the Colts playing the Jags or something like that, it's like, all right, well, I've probably got somebody in fantasy. I can at least pay attention to this. Otherwise, it's very uninteresting. But yeah, so fantasy football season is commencing. I'm sure there's a lot of drafts going on right now, and so good luck to you all. Draft Packers, but not all of them. Just draft some of them. Josh Jacobs is probably your best bet. I think the defense is going to be a sneaky good pickup, but yeah, have fun. That's what it's about, right?
Have fun.
Oh, man.
Enjoy.
So speaking of fun, we got Packers football on the horizon, y'all. So we will be back next Monday night, 9:30 p.m. Central Time, live streaming to talk about the Final 53 and maybe pick apart some moves that might happen between now and then. You just never know. Feels like there's transactions in the air. There might be a rather large one that takes place that we could talk about. You just never know. And then the week after that, we got football. We're back. We got week 1. We got Detroit Lions, NFC North, jumping in the deep end, getting it all going right off the bat at Lambeau. Man, like, it just feels good. It just feels good. This season, it's starting at Lambeau, starting against the Lions. There's a lot going on right now. And it feels like Jordan Love is good. He did that interview. They asked him, are you going to be ready? He's week 1, baby. He's ready. So vibes are high, Tim. Vibes are high.
Football's back, baby.
Football is back. And, of course, college football, too. So you guys get the college football stuff going on Saturdays. Gotta love it. Go Bucky on Wisconsin. Maybe we can have a little rivalry chat whenever Wisconsin plays Penn State. I think they play this year, don't they?
Don't know.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they don't.
Yeah, I don't know if they play, but
I know Wisconsin has a really ridiculously hard schedule.
Yeah.
We got like Alabama and stuff. So should be fun. All right, it's getting late. I won't drag this out anymore. If you guys are hanging with us this late, thank you so much. You rock. We love you, and would love if you would spike that like button for us and jump over to the Packers Talk Network YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button, and there's a little bell next to it. There's like bonus points for that, and it just makes a big difference for us. So we really appreciate y'all. And, of course, come back and hang out with us again next Monday night. We're going to talk about the Final 53. And until then, as always, go, Pack, go.